Welcome, Reverend James.
Thank you. I feel welcome. And I want to especially thank Elise this morning because that passage from the Upanishads fits perfectly with what I'm going to be talking about. If I had found it, I might have used it. So I'm glad you did. All right. So today I'm going to once again begin with the talk and then we'll do a meditation afterwards. The Apostle Paul wrote, "It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me." In the mood of that statement, Paul felt he was in touch with his inner divinity, that he knew his true self, the Christ in him. Yet in another letter he wrote, "I do not understand my own actions, for I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. I can will what is right, but I cannot do it. For I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I do." Paul did not understand himself. He did not understand why he did the things he hated and did not do the good things he wanted to do. I think most people can relate to Paul's feelings. Most people probably at times feel like they don't understand some of the things they've done. Most people probably at times have felt that they were not being as good as they wanted to be. Paul's idea of himself was that he was both flesh and spirit. He felt his inmost self was spiritual, but that his spirit was imprisoned in the limits of his body and what he called his sins, which is to say, his errors, his mistakes. He felt his spirit was at war with his flesh. To get past those kinds of conflicted feelings, we must understand ourselves. So today I want to explore the question, what is the true self? What am I really? What are you really? Now, there are different ideas of self. There's a scientific concept, which is you are a body, an electrochemical machine or kind of a robot that grows old, and eventually stops functioning. That's the scientific materialistic view. There's a psychological concept of the self. You are a personality. Your emotions and behavior are generated by your brain and experiences. And here, the body idea is basically the same as what I'm calling the scientific or materialist concept. The most common concept of self, and it's found in Paul's writings, is that the self is a combination of body and soul, a twofold being in which the soul and body are distinct substances that somehow interact and sometimes conflict, as in Paul's story himself. So Paul and others sometimes have also described a kind of Trinitarian self concept where there's spirit, soul, or mind and body. Spirit, soul, and body. We're familiar with that idea. What is the self from the metaphysical and mystical perspective? Metaphysics is concerned with the nature of being, and by extension, the nature of becoming. So, what defines being? In metaphysics, being means that which is or that which is unchanging, and becoming is the evolving expression of being. The being of the real self, whatever it is, must be that which endures unchanged throughout our lives. That which endures unchanged throughout our lives. Now, the primary general metaphysical truth is that everything in the universe is an idea and infinite mind, that is the nature of reality. So your body is an idea in universal mind. Your body and the universe are also ideas in your mind. And your mind operates within the body idea. Mind operates within the body idea. When we consider the human experience, our experience, we perceive clearly that there is a self and a sense of self that endures through all the changes in experience. This unchanging sense of self begins at the dawning of consciousness and continues throughout life. I am what I have always been, in some sense. The human body idea changes constantly. Yet through all the changes, I am aware that I am I, regardless of the physical changes. The body is an evolving idea which inhabits our minds and which our minds inhabit. So, this changing body idea is not and cannot be the enduring self, not my body. So, is my mind what I am? Well, my thoughts and feelings also change throughout life, just as my body does. My mind is always present, but the content of my mind changes within what I call the mind field. I'm a mind field, but I am not the changing, evolving contents of that mind field. So there is an important exception to this regarding the mind content. There is an unchanging idea in consciousness. I always and unchangingly have the idea, one idea in my consciousness, the idea that I am. My idea and consciousness that I am remains the same. My consciousness that I am is always exactly the same idea, the same experience, and the same consciousness of I am that everyone else has. Each person differs in their evolving body appearance, their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, all of which are continually changing, and none of which can be the enduring real self, except for the idea and the experience that I am. Here's another way to look at it. What could you lose while continuing to have the consciousness I am? So, for example, suppose I lose my vision, hearing, and other senses. And suppose I lose even the ability to move my body. In that situation, I could still have the consciousness I am. Suppose I lose my memories and ability to think, to reason, and imagine. I could still have the consciousness I am and would still have that consciousness I am. Now, suppose I forgot I have a body and forgot the existence of the whole world. I could still have and would still have the consciousness I am. Myself could only cease to exist if and only if I no longer had the consciousness I am. The I am consciousness is not the thought or the words I am. It is more like a feeling and an awareness than words. You may not realize that even when you're in a state of dreamless sleep, you still have the I am consciousness. And you quickly forget that experience when you awaken, just as you usually quickly forget your dreams. The I am was always there. Now, again, the consciousness I am, that is myself, is no different than your consciousness of I am. It's exactly the same idea and experience in me and you and everyone else, just as the idea of a mathematical truth is the same in everyone who has it. Mathematical truth does not change with age. It does not change according to bodies, personalities, or behaviors. It has no physical location, yet is always true and always and everywhere true. So the I am, the self, what I am, is like a mathematical truth. It's exactly identical, exactly the same everywhere, all the time, in all beings. What that means logically is that since we all have the identical I am, there is and can only be one I am. Just as, for example, there is only one and the same idea, 2 times 5 equals 10 for everyone all the time. According to the mystics, the one I am is the true self. You kind of heard that as illustrated in the passage from the Upanishads this morning. It is and must be your real self and my real self. I'll admit this is sometimes difficult to grasp. I'm not the first or only individual to conclude that there is only one self. This understanding has frequently been revealed in mystics' experiences and has also been realized through reason by some of our great philosophers and scientists. So I'm going to cite a few more examples of those who had this realization. One is from one of my favorite mystics, Plotinus, who lived from 205 to 270. Plotinus was probably the first individual, at least in Western history, to have multiple mystic experiences and try to explain what they are. And he also was the first to present a coherent metaphysical system and understanding of the universe based on the idea of the mystical one, the I am. He called the I am or consciousness the soul. So in this passage, the word soul signifies just the consciousness or the self. He wrote, "We are not asserting the unity of soul in the sense of a complete negation of multiplicity. Only of the supreme can that be affirmed. We're thinking of soul, again, consciousness, as simultaneously one and many, participant in nature, divided in body, but at the same time, a unity by virtue of belonging to that order which suffers no division. In other words, reality, the universe, is necessarily one. Every soul or self is one with the one." So again, soul means consciousness. Consciousness is a unity within the body, even though it functions in many different parts, even though, as I said, the content changes. Consciousness is one in the sense that it is indivisibly omnipresent. Consciousness is many in the sense that it functions through many different forms and through many parts of each individual form. So we see this idea of the one I am in the work of Plotinus. Now, another mystic I'm sure have heard of, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, wrote exactly the same idea, right? One of his books. He wrote, "There is but one I am. It cannot be cut into parts. It is principle. That which says I am in all men, women, and children is identical. It is like the mathematical one." My last quote is from Erwin Schrödinger, who discovered, invented, however you want to put it, the quantum mechanics. Right? He also anticipated and inspired the understanding of DNA. Right? DNA was later sort of discovered and mapped, but Schrodinger suggested what that would look like, trying to write about how quantum mechanics fits with life. Okay, anyway, so Schrodinger said this in an essay. He wrote that there were two evidently true but seemingly contradictory propositions. So his reasoning is through. The first proposition: my body functions as a pure mechanism according to the laws of nature. Okay. The first proposition. The second proposition: yet I know by incontrovertible direct experience that I am directing its motions, of which I foresee the effects. So we've got these two things, the idea of a body as a machine, but the idea of I'm directing it. Right? So he goes on. The only possible inference from these two facts is, I think, that I in the widest meaning of the word, that is to say, every conscious mind that has ever said or felt I am the person, if any, who controls the motion of the atoms according to the laws of nature. And he goes on to say that consciousness is never experienced in the plural, but only in the singular. So in other words, there can only be one self, one mind. But the plurality of self and mind is an illusion. Schrödinger went on to write that the mystics of many centuries, independently, yet in perfect harmony with each other, have described each of them the unique experience of his or her life in terms that can be condensed in the phrase, I have become God. Now, I should add that, of course, most mystics have not made the point so bluntly. Okay. In most times and places, at least in the Western world, saying I have become God has been misunderstood and regarded as heresy and blasphemy, often punishable by death. So Most mystics, being intelligent people, have made the point that God is the true self in more subtle and socially acceptable ways than simply coming out and say, I have become God. Nevertheless, that is the truth of what we are. It must be. The I am of you, the one true self, is the same as the I am of me. And this I am can direct your mind to change and thereby change your body and conditions. See, this is the whole point of doing affirmations and prayer and meditation and so on, is changing of condition. The most enduring aspect of your consciousness next to the I am is the idea I will. Power to direct mental attention to any idea or group of ideas, to the content of the consciousness field. So next to the I am is the I will. Yourself can direct your mental attention to any idea. So when we do that with affirmations and denials, we're directing it to divine truth. When you direct your mental attention, what you direct your mental attention to is what you intentionally will to do and experience. No matter how you change the content of your mind, body, and conditions, you will not and cannot change what you really are, your true self, your I am, the one I am. The one I am, the one mind, operates through individual finite forms, such as the body idea in your mind. So, the finite, individualized operation of mind is susceptible to making mistakes because of the limits of the body idea, right? So the body idea has its limitations. The I am is working through them. This is what Paul was struggling with, the limitations of his body idea, which he called the flesh. He was trying to reconcile this idea of the Christ that lived in him with this limited form, the body. Infinite mind is incapable of error. So even the fallibility of mind, when operating through a limited body idea, cannot be a mistake. Cannot be a mistake of infinite mind, because infinite mind is incapable of mistakes. So we must come to understand, in the light of infinite mind, the true nature of what we call mistakes and limitations. What appear to be human errors are, in reality, means for continuing the evolution of divine ideas. What appear to be human errors are, in reality, the means for continuing the evolution or expression of divine ideas. So when I become aware that I've made a mistake, I endeavor to correct the mistake and to avoid making it again, and thereby grow. I try to learn from my mistakes, and in that way, my consciousness evolves the divine manifestation. And I believe this is true for everybody. Everybody, when they find they've made a mistake, they try to correct it. It's just that it doesn't seem that way. That's because sometimes we have to make the same mistakes over and over again till we realize the error and try a different way. So that's part of that process. Another way to see this is that what seem to be errors and limits in our experiences are actually our growing edges. Our seeming limits are stimuli for evolution. Limitations are motives to expand our consciousness. Limitations are opportunities for the infinite mind, for the I am, to create, experience, and express more fully its limitlessness. So it's the limitlessness, the infinite, expressing through, in an ever expanding and evolving way, the finite, the body, right? Now, this seems paradoxical, obviously, but you can probably recall times when you grew through some challenges you had. You think
Yes.
back on your life, a lot of your learnings have been because you were pressing against what seemed to be some kind of limits. You learned to become greater by recognizing, but then pushing against apparent limits. Your limits then helped you express more of your real self, more of the infinite I am. So Your apparent limitations and mistakes are really opportunities for the I am, your real self, to express its limitlessness. Any idea you may have of yourself that is less than the infinite I am is a false idea. The I am, your real self, is continually directing the mind within your body idea to manifest the infinite divine potential. Now, in a future talk in this series, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how it is possible for us to make mistakes, dealing with the problem of good and evil that Paul brings up here. But I'm not going to go into that today because that's kind of a little, again, sort of a complex topic. So, what we want to do, again, is recognize this one I am, discover it, get in touch with the idea, I guess, but also to experience that I am, which is, again, the pure being that in expressing is becoming more in manifestation. So to do this, I come now to our meditation. Right? Now, this meditation is taken from Jnana Yoga. It's it's a traditional Hindu meditation, although I'm going to express it in sort of my own terms. And so as I go through this meditation with you, I would invite you to, as you hear my words, try them on as a kind of experiment. Just sort of think for yourself or make the observation for yourself in this process. The point that we hope to arrive at in this meditation is this consciousness that I am pure being, and as the Hindus say, pure being, consciousness, and bliss. So if you're ready for that, if you're ready to get in touch with that which you are, the I am, the real self, I invite you now to find a comfortable position and begin to relax into this moment. Become aware of your breathing, as we often do. Become comfortable. For a few moments, simply focus your attention on your body, the feeling of your body, the idea of your body. As we experience this body, we recognize that it has changed in the course of time. It has grown, has had many experiences, and is changing even now. There's movement within the body, movement of the breath, the flow of the blood, and so on. So the body is changing. And in this realization that my body is changing, I also realize my body is not what I am. I have this body. It is a wonderful instrument for experience and expression. Its intricacies are wonderful and amazing, yet I am not this body. So then we focus our attention for a time on what we are feeling. Perhaps you are feeling at peace. Perhaps you are feeling anxious. Perhaps you are feeling stressed. Perhaps you are feeling happy. Perhaps you are feeling love. Whatever you're feeling, just notice it, observe it. And recognize whatever feelings we are having now, not the feelings we always have. Feelings change. Like the body, our feelings are wonderful instruments. They help us relate to others. They help us to be creative. Yet the feelings are constantly changing. I have feelings, but I am not these feelings. Recognize that whatever feelings you may be going through, whatever emotions you may be having, this is not your true self. This is something you have. Because it is changing, it is not what I am, these feelings. I have feelings, but I am not my feelings. Now, again, you may also be having simultaneously thoughts about this meditation, thoughts or memories of the past, thoughts anticipating the future, random thoughts. I'm aware of your thoughts. And again, we recognize these thoughts are wonderful. The power of thinking is a wonderful power. Through it we create, through it we understand, through it, like our feelings, we have experiences through thinking. And we recognize that we can use our thinking, our power of thinking, to change our feelings and even to change our bodies. Even so, these thoughts are changing, ethereal thing. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. Even when I think positive truths, I'm not the thought, because the thoughts change. I have thoughts, but I am not thoughts. So through all this whole meditation, we are recognizing that which we are not, that which is continually changing, thoughts, feelings, the body. We could add to that conditions. Conditions are constantly changing. That in me which knows that I am does not change. That in me which knows I am has always been, has endured unchangingly through all the changes. Whatever I've been thinking, I am there. Whatever I've been feeling, I am there. Whatever changes my body or conditions have gone through, I am there. This pure consciousness of being, I am. I invite you to think that thought, just that thought, I am. Think it, repeat it, experience that idea, I am. Each of us are silently repeating and knowing, I am. We are having an experience of pure consciousness. It is one and the same experience, I am. Transcending thoughts and feelings, body and conditions, I am. I am. This one I am connects us all. It is one and the same truth for all and in all. I am. This I am, this pure being, is right now the same, identical in every person on the planet, in every conscious form. I am. this place, I am, we may will changes. We may direct changes. We may choose the thoughts that we want to manifest, the feelings we want to manifest, the body we want to manifest. We want to manifest wholeness in thoughts, feelings, and body and conditions. We direct our attention to this truth. I am wholeness. I am harmony. I am power. I am. I am pure being, pure consciousness, pure bliss. I am. So this I am, this true self continues through all the experiences that we have, all the experiences, all the experiences we will have today and in coming days. But in all these experiences, we continue to realize the truth, a real self, the one I am, and know that we can direct our attention, whatever ideas we want to experience. So we choose wisely. We choose experiences of joy, harmony, health, love, power. I am the one I am. I am become God. And so it is. Amen. Bring our attention back to this service, to each other. And as we see each other, we recognize the one true self, the I am, in each of us is the same, is one. Blessings.